Hey, I'm Christy Mitchell, and welcome to Unfudge Your Marketing, the podcast where we talk about what really happens when marketing doesn't go according to plan. Every week, I sit down with business owners and leaders to unpack the missteps, the experiments that didn't land, and the decisions they'd probably rethink if given a do-over. But more importantly, we talk about what they learned on the other side and what you can take with you as you build your own business. Success rarely comes from getting it right the first time. It comes from taking action, making mistakes, adjusting, and showing up again and again. If you've ever wondered whether you're the only one figuring this out as you go, you're in the right place. Hello. I am so excited today to welcome Nancy Zare, PhD, to the show. Nancy is a sales psychologist, communication expert, and the creator of the Alikability sales system. Known for her focus on how buyers buy, she helps heart-centered professional business owners attract aligned clients and turn sales into soulful, stress-free conversations. This is why Nancy and I get along. With a master's and doctorate from Boston College and 7 books to her name, including an Amazon International bestseller, Nancy blends academic rigor with spiritual insight to redefine how selling feels. Based in South Florida, Nancy is a devoted animal lover, farm dog rescue volunteer, and mentor with Immerman Angels. A lifelong student of human nature and higher consciousness, she believes selling is more about connection than conversion. And when she's not helping clients sell with soul, you might find her dreaming of high-speed joyrides on the Autobahn. I like that bio. Nancy, welcome to the show.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here and to talk with you. Like you say, it's long overdue.
It is. We were chatting before we kind of came on air about how this has been a long time coming. Nancy and I have known each other. It feels like forever. We were tracing it back. It's got to be LinkedIn is the way that she and I initially met. And we've been LinkedIn buddies ever since.
So true. And this tells the listener that yes, authentic, real relationships happen on social media. Christy and I have never met in person, but boy, I feel like I know her.
Yes, same. And I love, one thing I always think about when I think of you are not only your awesome hats, but the fact that you rescue dogs, and that was just like so near and dear to my heart. So I know I've seen some of your past foster dogs on Zoom calls, and yeah, I feel like we've just know each other so well and for so long.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah. So for all the evil that there could be on social media, that there is sometimes, good things can happen there. LinkedIn is my favorite place to hang out. I think it's Nancy's favorite place to hang out as well. But today, the conversation that we're going to have is, right, because the theme of the show is marketing mistakes and things that didn't go as planned. So Nancy had mentioned that she had a past experience running Facebook ads, and it did not go well. So Nancy, why don't you take us back to whatever point in your business that was, and kind of where were you at and why were you looking to Facebook ads to be a marketing tactic for you?
So this has got to be perhaps 5 years or more ago. I think it predates COVID, but I think it also happened maybe during COVID, in which I was looking for ways to reach new clients, especially during COVID when we weren't doing in-person networking. So consequently, being on social media platforms was the way to go. I thought, okay, I am organically reaching out to people. I have quite a large network, both on Facebook and on LinkedIn, in terms of first links or friends. Why not do some advertising? Why not boost it and try to get more people? And I think, Christy, this was also the time when I had a number of coaches, different coaches. And again, we were looking for tactics on how to generate leads. I'm going to use the word passively, using social media.
Mm-hmm. So I'm curious, do you remember what the ads were, like what you were promoting?
Oh, Good question. I mean, it was promoting, of course, me as a coach, a consultant. I'm sure it was something along those lines. It could have
Hmm.
been even an entry point, like some sort of lead magnet, to get people engaged and that sort of thing. So it wasn't like, a $10,000 high ticket offer. It was something on the
Yeah.
lower end of things.
Yep.
But it was a lot of ad spend for very little
Mm.
return. And even though we kept tweaking it, and by the way, I wasn't doing it on my own. I hired an outside person, supposedly with marketing experience. As a matter of
Hmm.
fact, I know that I met her in person, so I hired her so this clearly happened before COVID. I hired
Hmm.
her to help me. She supposedly had knowledge, skills, a good track record, but never, the performance was never there.
Yeah. So I think one of the things that's enticing about Facebook ads, or promising, maybe I'll say, is I know that it really has the ability to be very specific about the types of people you want to target with those ads. Yes. Is that part of the reason that you chose it as well?
I don't know if it was part of the reason. Remember, I was pretty naive, as many of us are. We're entrepreneurs. I mean, we have to wear many hats. Have you noticed all the hats we have to wear? And marketing and sales, for most of us, if you're like me, I had no training and no education around how to market and sell. And yet I had
Hmm.
a marketable skill which I could deliver individually. Hence, the majority of the people in my master's and doctoral programs were all busy practicing individually without any knowledge of how to get clients.
Yes. Yes.
So you are attracted to the latest guru who is screaming at the
Hmm.
rooftops, I can 10x your business, with which
Yes.
and you know what's the other appeal, Christy, and I still see it happening today, and it's that passivity. Like, I don't have to do anything.
Mm.
Like, there's going to be a behind the scenes sales funnel, which once
Yes.
somebody gets swooped into the top of the funnel, they go and they get sucked down, to become a client.
Yes.
And it's
Yeah.
so appealing to the person who doesn't want to sell, which, by the way, is
Hmm.
my ideal client, the person who is shy about marketing and sales and is looking
Yes.
for that kind of shortcut. And it's
Yes.
not that they need a shortcut, they just don't know what to do.
Yes. Yeah, I love this point that you're bringing up, Nancy, because so often I have had so many conversations with prospective clients who, and I can usually tell this is like actually become a red flag for me. I know if I get on a call and they're like, yeah, I just want to run some ads. Like, we just need to run some ads to get some leads. I know it's not going to be a client for me because exactly what you're saying. They're kind of looking for this like shortcut or quick fast solution where it's I like the word that you used, passive, right? It's like I'm just going to throw some money at this and then it's all going to work out.
And that's exactly, and I see that happening today. Yesterday, I was looking at something about affiliate marketing. And
Mhm.
again, I definitely love to partner with people. I'm always looking for good people to whom I can refer business. And if I got a bonus, well, okay, but that isn't my main criteria when I make a referral. It's obviously the match, the quality of what
Yeah.
that person needs to what that other person offers. But
Mhm.
affiliate marketing, again, it's like all you have to do is, promote somebody else's stuff and the money just flows in. It sounds so enticing.
Mhm.
And I think that for those of us who are looking for some sort of steady income, because being an entrepreneur is a roller coaster ride in terms of
Yeah.
income, again, it's so enticing.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. It is enticing. And I think well, going back, okay, so going back to the Facebook ads example, just because I want to make sure we like get through the whole story here. What was it that now you looking back? Well, actually, no. Back when you were in the middle of it, when did you start to realize that this wasn't working for you?
Well, of course, right at the beginning, you start getting some analytics. I mean, Facebook is good about showing you in the back office analytics about how many people have viewed or your ad and, and clicked or whatever. So you get all this information, but I wasn't getting results. There's a difference between, people who view what you're presenting and the buyer. And so
Yeah.
there were, the views were there, the impressions were there, but the
Yep.
sales were not.
Yes. And I'll even share too, on the same lines, I worked with one of my clients. We decided, once we got all of what I call the foundational pieces to their marketing in place, which is like website, social presence, email marketing, right? These like core kind of things that need to be in place first. And that's going back to the example I gave. That's why I know that someone who only wants to do paid ads isn't a good fit for me, because my job is to come in and look at everything you currently have going, especially these kind of 3 core foundational pieces, website, social, email marketing, and see like what's working, what's not, and where do we go from here? How do we make everything better and tie together and all of that? But I will say, so I worked with a client, we got all those things in place, and then we decided, let's try some Facebook ads and see what happens to generate leads. We had created this new lead magnet. It was, a free guide, and we thought, let's just try something new. And I know exactly what you're saying, Nancy, because it was like the numbers were there. It was like, oh, we're getting out in front of people. People are clicking, but we didn't get, and actually we did get form fills. We did get leads who downloaded the thing. But when you look at the email addresses, like a bunch of them just looked super spammy. So it was like, okay, this isn't, some of the numbers might look promising, but at the end of the day, what result are we getting?
I had the same experience. So you would think that, I would be smart. And the first person I worked with, like I said, it didn't pan out. And then during COVID, I tried it a second time. And this time it was with a person I had met online. We had the same coach and we had gotten to know each other. And again, our coach, of course, was using ads successfully and encouraging that as a tool. And so he had more tech knowledge than I did about setting stuff up. So I relied on him. And, again, we were both being coached by the same coach. So we kind of had the same understanding of what to do. But again, it was spammy emails. And I know specifically at that point, we were promoting a quiz, take this quiz and find out something about who you are and how you function. And, and again, it seemed so exciting, right? To take a quiz. It was entertaining and it was a little different than, download some sort of, paper or whatever information, but spammy emails.
Yeah. So I'm curious, Nancy. Well, I have a couple questions. First, I always like to get a sense of like timelines on these things. So how long, if you can remember, because I know it was a while ago, how long did you kind of give this thing before you were like, nah, this isn't
Definitely the first gal was at least a 6-month period, if not longer. And again, the same with the guy who helped me. So it wasn't like I jumped ship quickly. Again, and we did try to tweak and we kept looking at analytics, but I was fine. And, I had caps on how much money I was spending, which you can do on Facebook. But the result was,
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. That is another thing that is enticing, back to what we were saying about the ability to target and segment very specifically on Facebook. That is a draw for doing ads there. And the other thing is you can really use whatever kind of budget you want. You could throw $20 at something. You could throw $2,000 at something. So you have that flexibility, which is nice and not typical of a lot of advertising opportunities. So you gave it that, I always say that's the sweet spot, is I think 6 months. Like we gave it a shot. We tried it, like gave it 6 months and realized it didn't work. So I love that's, to me, that you did all the right things. Like you gave it a shot. You did it for a good amount of time to give it to work, and it didn't work. So I'm curious, Nancy, because especially since as you're talking, you did this 2 times with 2 different providers. Yeah. Do you think that it's just a platform issue, or do you think like, would you ever do it again and hire somebody else? Or are you like, nope, this isn't the tactic for me?
It's a great question. I think, of course, platforms change and time changes. Uh, when we were in the midst of COVID, people were scrolling and looking at social media a lot. Hence,
Mm-hmm.
that probably was a good indicator as to whether or not the ad was going to take off. You know, Christy, this is where someone like you excels and why people need to use your service, because you keep your hand on the pulse of what's happening and things change. There's no static marketing technique. You can't figure,
Mm-hmm.
and like you said, there are three pillars that you particularly look at. It's important to the viewer right now for you to take note. It's not a one trick pony. You can't just do one
Mm-hmm.
thing and expect results. And again, a
Yeah.
lot of the gurus out there that will attract you as marketing and sales professionals, it's a one trick. You know, I'm going to
Yeah.
10x it through this system, and be
Mm-hmm.
weary. Don't, think more than once about whether or not this is truly in alignment with who you are and your values. I
Yeah.
know if you're like me, you are looking for something that will help you generate quality leads with as little effort as possible, because the real joy is in delivering service to your clients, not in marketing and sales.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah, for sure. I love that you brought up that point earlier too, Nancy, that, we come into business because we're passionate about the work that we do. We don't come into business because we necessarily want to do marketing and sales. Unfortunately, it's the name of the game, right? We got to learn how to
It
do
is.
it.
60% of your time may be spent, especially if you're at the beginning stages. You know, you are constantly having to market and create the visibility, hone your message, identify and again, narrow and find that ideal audience, and again, generate leads, because you have to fill a pipeline. There is no
Yep.
question about that. And then, of
Yep.
course, most people, then it becomes a conversion problem. And instead of thinking that maybe I don't know how to sell, they say, Christy, you gave me bad leads.
Yeah. Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah, ugh, this is such a great conversation, Nancy, because I want to go back to your point about like the one trick pony. And thank you so much for your kind words about, why people
It,
should work with me. I
it's not
appreciate that.
kind words, it's the truth. And listener, viewer, really pay attention to this, because you need someone who's got the breadth of knowledge and experience to guide you through something you really don't know about.
Yes. Yeah, and that is something that it's funny because I think back to like the early days of my business when I used to like do the planning and the execution on marketing, and now I really stay on that strategic planning side,
I
and
know.
connect my clients with the people to do the execution. But that's what I love, is like looking at all of the pieces. I'm never like, oh, we only just need to do this one thing. It's always a holistic, we got to look at everything you're currently doing and then figure out where do we go from here. Because anytime, right, I have a whole show dedicated to these types of conversations where someone was like, I thought this one thing was going to fix all of my marketing problems, and it just doesn't work that way. I have yet to meet someone who's like, yeah, I only did this one thing for my marketing and that's all I needed to do. It just doesn't work that way, unfortunately.
Yeah, it doesn't. And again, for most of us, it's 20 years to become an overnight success. And
Yeah.
hence there's 20 different tools or marketing strategies, etc., before you begin to find the combination that works for you. And remember, today's combination will morph because platforms change and
Yeah.
people's talents and reading changes. And now, video is now very popular, whereas it used to be not so. Things keep changing. Hence, that's why you
Yeah.
need someone who focuses and is dedicated to understanding the field and not just the
Mm-hmm.
tool.
Yes. Yeah. I love that point. And I talk about that a lot with, as you know, I'm big on the marketing funnel framework. Like that is it's a tried and true way to organize your marketing efforts and prioritize them and really know, why am I doing these different tactics? What part of this funnel do they serve for me? And so it's one of those, like, I don't think I will ever change my mind on the marketing funnel, because the way that I approach and the way I teach it, it works. But this is what I always say, and this is the point you're making, Nancy, is the tactics that go into those different stages of the funnel do change over time because of the market changing, because of maybe our offer or our ideal client is shifting and changing. And so we have to meet them somewhere else. Or maybe, like, perfect example, you were saying, like, during the pandemic, everyone was spending more time on social media, and now maybe they're not spending as much time on social media. So how do we adapt and adjust to continue meeting our audience where they're at and being that problem solver for them?
Yeah. Yeah. Hence, that's why it's so important to have someone who has their hand on the pulse and is constantly, taking measurements as to what's working, and not just what's working for me individually, but because you have, a number of clients, you're able to see and get a broader perspective about what's working.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh, Nancy, I absolutely love this conversation, and not because you're just saying such kind things about me, but I think it's just so incredibly valuable for those listening to the show to think about all these things, like that we've talked about, like trying to go after one tactic, but you probably need to be looking at the big picture, thinking in terms of, I tried something, did I give it enough time to see if it worked? How many times am I going to try that thing before I say, nope, that's not right for me, I'm going to do something else? There's so many great tips and pieces of advice that we've covered. As we get ready to wrap up here, is there any last kind of lesson learned or piece of advice you want to leave listeners with?
Don't do it alone. That's my last piece of advice. Yes. Again, unless you have taken your MBA in marketing, please do hire a professional, someone who you know and trust and has a track record for success. And even then, of course, again, you need to follow the analytics and be mindful of what's going on.
Yes. Yeah. It's such great advice. And I always am so transparent on the show and in my own marketing. Like, I even have hired people to help me with my own branding, like as a marketing person. Yeah. I've helped people to train me on sales. Like, we all need help. We cannot do it all completely on our own. We have to lean on those experts and bring them in to help bring our knowledge up to where it needs to be. I think is just so incredibly important as a business owner. We should always be learning and growing.
Yeah. And not just in the field of practice, but again, how to be a business owner, because that's the hat that we're wearing. We are a business owner, just in conjunction with whatever the skill or activity is that we offer.
Yes, absolutely. And you know what? The other thing I'll say, it's so timely that we're having this conversation right now. I was just on a call with a past client of mine. I did a case study interview with them. And one of the things that they said, and I know this, they're co-founders of this business, and they've told me this to my face. And that's why I was like, we got to do this case study interview. They had said one of the biggest benefits they got from working with me was the knowledge that they gained, so that now they can make better informed decisions about their marketing and who they're hiring and where they're investing and where their focus is, because they have that knowledge, and no one can ever take that knowledge away from them. So it's funny that we're talking about this. Like, as a business owner, what are the things you need to kind of keep learning? You lean on experts and you grow your own knowledge, and then you figure out, how do I move forward?
Yeah, this is what makes each of us indispensable, is because of the fact that we do develop knowledge and expertise well beyond whatever our area of study is. And that's why when clients hire you, you are more valuable than just the thing that you offer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I know that you do the same for your clients when it comes to the sales side of things.
Yeah. For me, it's more than techniques around talking to people and handling objections. In fact, if you really have a good, effective sales conversation, the objections don't come up because it's about connecting with people on, a heart level. On a spiritual level, and you'll know in your gut whether this is right.
Yes. Yes, I love that. The authenticity, the heart-led work. These are all reasons that you and I have remained
I
business
know.
friends for
I
as long as
know.
we have. We have all this shared values. Okay, Nancy. So as we wrap up our conversation today, very lastly, I want to give you the chance. How can people learn more about you and the work that you do?
So LinkedIn is my playground, and just like that's where we met, this is where I continue to play. I really recommend connecting with me on LinkedIn. It's easy because it's just my name, linkedin.com/in/Nancy Zare. I also have a Substack that I've done. I'm on Facebook. I do have a YouTube channel, but it's LinkedIn that I continue to pour my heart into.
Yes. Okay, awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much, Nancy, for your willingness to come on the show and share your experience. I know that this conversation will be extremely valuable to listeners.
Oh, it's an honor. And again, folks, pay attention to what Christy is saying and promoting, because she really does know. I can tell you that, having watched her now for at least a decade.
Thank you so much, Nancy. I appreciate that.